Red button means we're live. Some casual takes with your boy Stephen Pepper, here to get some takes off my chest. Last night was the NFL draft, and we're going to talk about a selection. The NFL draft, what a great event it was. Shout out to the NFL. It's the best draft out of any draft in all professional sports, and at least in America. Shout out to Detroit. Over like 200,000 people were there. It's just such a great event. Great for TV. I love the draft. It's the draft of all drafts. But it wasn't without some chaos. 6 of 12 6 quarterbacks going the top 12 picks. Quarterback inflation was on full display, especially with Atlanta's pick. Atlanta. Michael Penix at 8. You can't convince me that at that pick, for that quarterback, for that team situation, that Penix at 8 makes any sense. Do you remember, Atlanta, that you signed Kirk Cousins to a big contract, 4 years, 180, right? Oh, don't worry, guys. Penix is just a successor. It's fine. You signed Kirk for 4 years. Why are you thinking about succession before he even takes a snap for your team? If succession is really on your mind, okay. Like, if succession is really on your mind, then why go Penix? Penix is 30 years old. Well, he's actually like 24 in May, but he's a 5-year college guy. He's not like some 20-year-old kid that you sit on the bench for 2 years to develop. He's almost as good as finished. Now, I'm going to be fair here in a sense that I don't go to the combines. I'm not in all those meetings. So if Penix is truly the Falcons guy, I've never been that high on Penix, but if Penix is truly the Falcons guy, that's fine. But then why don't you trade down for Penix? Because no one in their sane mother had a top 10 grade on Penix. You could have traded down, not only gotten Penix, but gotten a future draft capital. You bring in Kirk Cousins for one reason, to compete. And right now, even with Kirk Cousins, Atlanta is just a fringe playoff team, lucky to be in the NFC South. So they had the opportunity to kind of go all in on Cousins and use that 8 pick to go all in on Kirk. And they spent it on Michael Penix, who is going to be a backup for at least 2 years, pretty much making Kirk Cousins the most expensive bridge quarterback in like NFL history. Because the biggest need for the Falcons, and it has been for years, they've gone offensive heavy in the last couple of drafts. It's time to get that defensive line. I mean, when's the last time they had a premier edge rusher who can get 10-plus sacks? Vic Beasley? That was like 6-8 years ago. And there was a lot of good options for him. They had the first overall pick essentially in the draft for a defense because it ended up going like 14 straight offensive picks. But at pick 8, the best defensive players were all on the board. You got to went Byron Murphy, Dallas Turner, Verse. Could have went corner if you wanted to. You had a lot of picks, lot to. You had a lot of picks. And you decided to go a backup quarterback. You had a new defensive head coach in Raheem Morris. You could have had an opportunity to get him a young defensive cornerstone for his side of the ball. Nope, you go Penix. So, again, I'm going to be fair here because I'm not in those combines. I'm not a draft cap expert. I'm not in those meetings. I'm not in the draft room. So I'm going to be even more fair and just entertain the idea that taking a successor at 8 was the right decision. Then why don't you select J.J. McCarthy? Me and J.J. McCarthy are the same age. J.J. McCarthy is a couple months removed from not being able to drink legally in this country. J.J. McCarthy was actually a guy, I didn't really believe J.J. McCarthy to be worth that high, but J.J. McCarthy is a guy that all the scouts had graded as a top 10 prospect, whereas Michael Penix, no one thought so. No one in their sane mother. So you could have taken J.J. McCarthy at 8 because he's a guy who's 21 years old. And if Kirk Cousins, all of his guaranteed money is in the next 2 years. So there's an idea now that Kirk Cousins is out of Atlanta in year 3. So in 2 years, J.J. McCarthy is going to be 23 years old. He's the right guy who you sit for 2 years, learn an NFL offense behind Kirk Cousins, and by the time he's ready to play, he's 23 years old. That's still young. 23 years old. J.J. McCarthy in 2 years will be younger than Daniels and Penix are today. To take J.J. McCarthy. I've never, ever liked when teams do this win now and build for the future thing at the same time. It never works. You can't balance it. You got to commit to either winning now or building to the future. And Atlanta is trying to build for the future while also winning now. Kirk Cousins hasn't taken a snap. You got to commit to win now. Golden State, reason why their dynasty is eroding and they didn't make the playoffs is because not only did they try to win now, they also try to build for the future, and they couldn't commit to both. And now their win now pieces are old. They don't have enough. And their build for the future team just isn't ready to support the win now. And now Atlanta has kind of pissed off Kirk's camp. They didn't even give him a heads up that they were taking Penix for sure until they selected him and gave him a call. And this is a quote from the general manager of the Falcons. He said, "If you believe in a quarterback, you have to take him. And if he sits for 4 or 5 years, that's a great problem to have because we're doing so well at that position." Sit for 4 to 5 years. Michael Penix is 24 in May. If he sits for 4 years at the end of Kirk Cousins' contract, Michael Penix would be 28 years old. Will be slower, less athletic. He's already not a great player, playmaking under pressure, moving outside the pocket. 4 to 5 years? I think the loser of the night was the Atlanta Falcons. You can't convince me at that spot, pick 8, for that quarterback and that team situation, what their offseason was, what that pick could have done to their defense, what that quarterback is as far as age and potential, that was the right move. This was an F. D-, F for Atlanta. Okay, let's talk some basketball. Unfortunately, I got to talk some basketball. Oh, my God. I talked about the game breakdown last night. Make sure you follow my social media, Some Casual Takes, on TikTok, because I did an instant reaction where I talked a lot more about the dynamic of the game, specifically Game 3. Boy, I was crashing out last night. The Lakers, their season is pretty much over. They got swept last night. Well, technically, they got Game 4 on Saturday, but if that was a sweep, it pretty much was a sweep. Even at Game 3, last night was a sweep. Like, these Denver-LA matchups are the same story every single time. Whereas the Lakers have control. I said the Lakers could actually win the series because I think they match up well against the Nuggets. And every single game, they jump out to these big leads first, second quarter. Second half, they don't execute. Denver wins the game every single time. And I was thinking to myself last night, the Nuggets remind me a lot like the Chiefs, where it feels like no lead is safe when you play against them. You have to play perfect or you will lose. Josh Allen in the second round, he was great, but he wasn't perfect. Bills lost. LeBron, Anthony Davis, Lakers, they've been great in the series, but they weren't perfect. They lose. You can't go 3-and-out against this team. You can't go on a run where you give up 20-8. You can't miss 6 shots in a row against the Nuggets. You'll lose. Playing the Nuggets or Chiefs, I like to say it's a game of a tug of war, where no matter how much control you have at the beginning of the match, as soon as you let up on the rope, just the slightest, the Nuggets and the Chiefs, they never let go, and they'll quickly pull that rope from your hands. How are they able to do that? Because they never panic when trailing. It's almost as if they play better when they're down because they're forced to go to what works best. Jokic Murray 2-man game. Fourth quarter, Kelsey Mahomes 2-man game. This is absolutely insane to me. The Lakers, it's been an absolute tease. The Lakers were up 12 in all three, by at least 12 in all 3 second quarters. The Lakers up 12, at least 12 in all 3 second quarters. The Chiefs down 10 in all their Super Bowl wins. Nuggets, Chiefs win all those games. It's like they don't start playing until they're trailing. And then when they are trailing, then you find out why they're just so much better than you. Mahomes, Jokic, best player alive, 2-time MVP. They're just better than you. They're just so well coached. Mike Malone, Andy Reid, they're just going to out-scheme your coach. And the roster, no matter how weird a player is here, McDuffie, Rashee Rice, Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter, the roster just works. You can doubt them. Denver all season, a bottom 5 bench. No bench at all. The Chiefs, wide receivers drop every big pass. And then when it comes to playoffs, they elevate and they win the game. You can try talking yourself into betting against them. I did. Oh, here come the Lakers. It's different this year. LeBron, Anthony Davis are healthy. D'Lo's hitting all of his shots. They got the experience. I think they can take the Nuggets. Oh, here come the Suns. Last year, they traded for Kevin Durant. I had the Suns beating the Nuggets. They look scary. That's too much for the Nuggets. No, it wasn't. Oh, the Baltimore Ravens. Best defense in all football. Lamar Jackson getting his second MVP in Baltimore, AFC Championship. Oh, look at the Bills. They lost all those years against Kansas City because it was in Kansas City. This time, Josh Allen revenge in Buffalo. No, it's the same story. The AFC since 2019 has ran through Kansas City. And the West, I have a good feeling, is going to be running through Denver for many years to come. Boy, are the Lakers just cooked. They're cooked because this series, although it's going to be the same, the Lakers get swept back-to-back years. The two losses can't be any different. Where last year, the reason why the Lakers got swept is because LeBron and Anthony Davis, Bron was injured, Anthony Davis wildly inconsistent, and the Jokic and Murray duo ran laps around him. Whereas this year, LeBron and Anthony Davis, LeBron's healthy, Anthony Davis is very consistent. I'd argue that the LeBron-AD duo has been slightly better than the Jokic-Murray duo. But they're getting swept regardless because the Nuggets' other guys, MPJ, Aaron Gordon, KCP, are better than the Lakers' other guys. Rui, D'Lo, Rui Hachimura, better on the backboard, more physical, faster, better defenders, better shooters. It's just such a tease, man. It's so draining mentally where the Lakers have led in all first halves. Second half execution has been horrible. Darvin Ham, what kind of halftime speech are you giving out where the Lakers are blowing leads every time they go down the second half? Or maybe it's just because the Nuggets are just so a well-oiled machine, where it doesn't matter if they're trailing at halftime. The Chiefs, Eagles trail at halftime, 49ers trail at halftime, Super Bowl. There's Super Bowl runs where, they trailed it against Tennessee. They trailed against Houston. They trail against Buffalo. They're in Baltimore, trailing. They still come out and win. Jamal Murray, is like Travis Kelce. And it went to in a sense that Jamal Murray will never be an all-star in this league. He'll never be an all-star. Never. But as soon as the playoffs come out, he will just completely elevate his game, the highest from regular season to playoff career average jump in NBA history. And Travis Kelce, who was washed all regular season, didn't even get 1,000 yards, he showed himself in the playoffs to be the best tight end in the league again. It's like the similarities can't be more clear between the Nuggets and Chiefs. And it hurts as a Lakers fan, as a LeBron fan, as someone who wants to see him get one more run. But the Nuggets and the Chiefs are just this well-oiled machine where you have to play perfect against them. You can't go 3-and-out back-to-back drives. You can't allow a 10-point run disadvantage. You have to keep your grip on the rope from the start of the game to the end of the game, or you'll just lose. Because Mahomes and Jokic, they're just better than you. They have the better coach. Their duo is better down the stretch. Yeah, they have flaws. They're just better. And no lead is safe. And the AFC is running through Kansas City, and the Western Conference is going to run through the Denver Nuggets. I appreciate everyone for tuning in this episode of Some Casual Takes. To stay updated on all things related to the show, Some Casual Takes is the handle for every social media. And until next time, see you.